Here we go.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. This is Ron. It is Monday, April 6th, 2026 at 6:05 p.m. We're a couple of minutes late today, but here we are. Just see if we have any questions. Last couple of days we have been talking about melanin and principles of Maillard, and we talked about a little bit about redemption and our responsibility as mankind's being steward for of the universe and uh, several other things. But any questions or comments on anything that was spoken of in the last couple of days? Well, anything else that may you may have a question about? Anybody? No questions?
Yeah, good evening, family. I don't have a question, but I wanted to just, mention in reference to what Charles had asked about yesterday in terms of, reading the Bible and then at the same time looking at where it has the word he, in terms of just the masculine aspect, in terms of how we read. And
Mhm.
I just, wanted to mention that, and when we talk about he, I too have looked at that and just has taken on a new mindset in terms of how I look at that in my readings. And I think the word she has he in it. And when I say that in terms of just a particular word, but I think that is important that we do, give thought to anytime we come across the word he in terms of looking at it from a masculine standpoint, that we can incorporate that aspect of the feminine energy. And so in looking at melanin, I gave thought to the fact that our melanin is cosmic energy and vibration. So even looking at it from the cosmic mother, you know what I mean? And then at the same time, looking at the masculinity aspect in terms of how we see that. I just thought I was just giving thought to that. So I just wanted to say, again to Charles, I appreciate him bringing that up because that's something that, I've, are looking at and pondering it as I read, the word today. So just, those were just my thoughts in terms of what Charles was saying. And I think that when we look at that aspect of Matthew, as he talked about in terms of the Great Commission in Matthew 28, verses 18 to 24, again, looking at it in that aspect in terms of both masculine and feminine. Uh, Again, I just wanted to share those thoughts. Unless there's any questions, I'm done.
I like that. I think it's a brilliant observation. I like that. She has he in it. Kind of brings balance to it when you're reading it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Any comments? Anybody? Okay. Um, if nobody has a question, comment, you guys want to go on a journey with me? I saw something that I don't know.
Hey,
Look at it.
Ryan,
Yes, sir.
is that journey gonna cost us anything?
A little time. Might cost you a little time, Chuck. Well, you know I love Genesis, and I can't seem to get away from chapter 4. Uh, but I wanted to, before I get into this or ask a question about it, I want to make sure that Pastor didn't have any follow-ups or anything from what he discussed yesterday, he or Bob, because they primarily led the lessons last couple of days.
No, I don't have any follow-up to unless there are questions based on what we talked about.
Okay. Um, I think a lot of what we talk about is in the scriptures and is there mysteriously, meaning it doesn't really jump out at you. And I don't think it really is supposed to. Uh, and we talked about the manipulation of the words in the scriptures and what has taken place with that. But I look at chapter 4 and I think of what we were talking about a couple of days ago when Pastor was talking about overt and covert, uh, how one is outward and one is inwardly looking at your consciousness, and it got me to thinking about uh, how we how we see things and your eyes and your mind versus your inner eye and your soul, and uh, and I see Cain and Abel as part of the same coin, but covering the mind. And the mind is something that we are we become best friends with or become a guide from birth. And because as an infant, when you are unable to speak, your mind sort of knows what you want or supposedly even what you need and sort of takes over. And so, for example, if you cry, you pretty much get what you want as an infant stage. And that's when you are developing that part of yourself, that part of your mind, and your eyesight and your senses developing those relationships. And so when I look at that, when it talks about Cain killing Abel, we do it all the time. But the thing that really kind of got me to see this is when you look at Cain, it means to strike, or like an arrow to puncture something. And that is speaking of when we do have these imaginary uh, conversations in our mind, especially when you're in a place where you're feeling a little out of control with your anger, and you do something or you go overboard that that but you holding it in, and you catch yourself and you take a breath and you say, okay, settle down, Ron, settle down. You don't need to do this or go that place, go this far. That settling that brings you back is not going to keep you from doing it again. It's just something that kind of steadies you at that time. And that's the vapor because Abel means a vapor, something that vanishes, something that's not really there. So I was looking at that and got into this chapter a little further, and because just trying to understand it, and it goes into when Cain does what he does and he has his conversation with God. Uh, I'm gonna pick up in verse 15 and I'm gonna read this, and this is where it this is more question than I have answers. Okay, it said, for anyone who just got on, I'm in Genesis chapter 4, verse 15. It said, "So the Lord said to him, therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance will be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord appointed a sign for Cain so that no one finding him will slay him." Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Okay. Then it goes into his relations with his wife, and he conceived and had Enoch, and it goes on from there. Look at verse 23. It says, Lamech said to his wives, Adal and Zillah, listen to my voice, you wives of Lamech, give heed to my speech. For I have killed a man for wounding me, and and a boy for striking me. If Cain is avenged sevenfold, then Lamech 70 sevenfolds. That sounded familiar to me because it is also similar said in Matthew 18, verse 21 and 22, when I think it is Peter that comes to Jesus and asks about forgiveness. So, but those are the same numbers, 70. Peter asked, should I forgive him 7 times? And Jesus says 70 times 7. Uh, so this just kind of struck me when I saw this, looking at what this is saying, and why would Lamech say this? He said if Cain is avenged sevenfold, why would he say then Lamech uh will be avenged 70 sevenfold? That got my attention. Uh I did not pay so much attention, and I'm a hush in a minute, let somebody talk and answer this. But I did not pay so much attention to the killing or the killing is again comes from your mind. It is your getting angry at somebody and wanting to do them harm. And we injure. At least I can't be the only one. At least I hope not. Else I really need counseling if I'm the only one. But we injure people, or hopefully we're much better at it than we used to be, uh, through our minds a lot. The killing of Cain happens a lot. So the killing is what I was describing earlier about you're being punctured, you're being stricken, and so I didn't look at that as anything literal, of course, but trying to see this from a spiritual perspective, uh, what all of this means. Uh, so anybody, any thoughts on it at all? Anybody? Genesis chapter 4. And while I'm talking about it, I did look up the women's name, the wives. The first wife, Adal, talks about to pass on or to move on or to advance or to move on, to adore. The other one talks about darkness, though. Zillah talks about, oh, come on. Let me find it. I hit the wrong thing. Zillah talks about a shadow or to darken, to grow dark, uh, to grow shade or to grow dark, which I thought was interesting. But I think both of them are talking internally about the moods and the things that you go through. So I don't see them as physical wives as much as I see them as parts of his inner community, talking about the moods that he's going through or the things that's passing through him as this goes on. And I'm hoping this makes sense. That's why somebody help me with this if you see what I'm trying to say, please.
I'm trying to grasp what you're saying, Ron. Um,
Okay.
my thoughts about that when you read it was, why is it that Cain was preserved in spite of the fact that he killed Abel? Why was he protected? Um, my thoughts were there even before we got to where you are now.
Hmm.
I don't understand why Cain was protected, and at the same time, the death of Abel did not mean that Abel disappeared, because later on it talks about Abel's blood crying out from the ground.
Hmm.
So my question is, does Cain or is Cain representative of what we are dealing with now? And if Cain is representative of the chaos we are facing, then why was he preserved? Was he preserved because it was the response to Abel's blood crying out from the ground that would bring justice to Cain for what happened? Uh, so if Cain and Abel are the same coin, but two different sides of it, is it saying that um, Cain is indicative of religion and Abel is representative of that which is spiritual, spirituality? And it was up to um, humanity to bring Cain to a place of justice, while at the same time establishing the order of Abel in the earth. I just have so many questions about that, and seemingly no answers at the moment.
I too have questions, and I think that both of them are alive and well as we speak. Um, when we talk about shadow work and pushing things aside, I think we're talking about Cain and Abel. Uh, I think that the blood of Abel uh, has mixed with the consciousness, and it is up to the Acabelonian to mend that. I don't know what that means, but to work. That's I see Cain is something that individually we all must deal with. And the reason why I said Abel does mean vapor or something that doesn't last, vanity, but I see that as the only way you get rid of Cain is through meditation, through deep meditation, through the journey that we are taking, uh, and not through just desire to move him out of the way. Abel represents that desire to move. It's not healthy. It's not. Uh, you cannot be righteous or seek righteousness without dealing with that portion of yourself, and it takes more than just wanting it to happen. So as we have grown to see ourselves and uncover all the things that this is part of the uncovering. Not only have we uncovered truth, we uncover the religious things and the other things that we have built ourselves up to be that has nothing to do with us moving forward or unless we cleanse ourselves in this way individually. And I feel like I'm just going rambling a little bit here, but I think this is a part of who we are and where we are now is the reason why it kind of stood out to me. And the other son, Seth, means a substitute. So you, Cain and Abel, to me, go hand in hand. So.
I'm not able to, at this point, to grasp the connection between Cain, Abel, and the death itself, and the idea that Cain talks about the punishment is too great for me to bear.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about being killed. I have not been able to grasp that, to bring understanding to that.
Okay.
So I wish that I could help with that, but I don't quite see that. However, um, if there are no questions or input in regards to this, or if you want to go further with it, Ron, I'm willing to listen to see if I can grasp what's being said here. I'll get some understanding from it, from what was written, because I see the things that we've talked about in the past, of course, about Cain and Abel. But I think there's more there than what we've talked about in the past.
I agree. I agree.
And the more is what I'm not seeing right now. I suppose that's what I'm saying. The more I'm not seeing. I do think it's pertinent to everything that we are currently engaged in. But maybe we should had to take a step back at the moment and see what we can receive in regards to it at a later date and come back to it. And if that's well with you, then there are some other things that I think that we can delve into in relationship to where we are now.
Okay, that's fine.
I want to talk about the idea of where we are right now in terms of the stability that we are charged with bringing to the earth. We are currently seeing the instability of a world leader, and I see it no differently than when the scripture talks about the instability of Nebuchadnezzar and how he was given over to a reprobate mind, and how he was left in, went into the wilderness, eating vegetation as an animal would. I don't see any difference in that description of Nebuchadnezzar than what I see in what's taking place currently in the earth. And I'm not simply talking about what's happening with Donald Trump. I believe that the mindset of the European world has engaged with destruction for so long until it has finally reached the place of its demise. And the reason I put it that way is because it's the Europeans who are currently engaged in battle with each other. When you look at the map on the globe, what you will see is that Europe is simply Western Asia. And Europe being Western Asia, there is no difference between the European and the European having become one with the Asians, thus creating the Arab. So what I am seeing in this regard is the European is at odds with itself and its children, because the children of the European and the Asian, their offspring is the Arab. And it is no wonder to me that the Arab was the first one who engaged in the enslavement of the children of Babylon. And the progenitor of the Arab, which is the European, not only engaged in it, but also perfected it in an extremely brutal way. The brutal way that it was perfected is no different than the brutal way that the European engaged with the Asian and brought the Asian under submission, and having done so through rape and pillage, ended up with the Arab. So the mindset of the Arab is no different than the mindset of the European. And both of them brought a religion of enslavement into existence. The mindset of the European brought Christianity into existence, as well as Judaism, and I'll get to that in a moment. And the Eurasian or the Asian and the European, who ended up the Arab, brought into existence Islam for the same purpose. And therein involved between the two is a renegade European. And that renegade European is the European who Western Europe had nothing to do with at all. As a matter of fact, they had no respect for the Eastern Europeans. And this Eastern European, in its quest to be accepted, became more devious than both the Arab and the European, the Western Europeans. And in being more devious, it sought out to find meet retribution to those who had kicked it to the side or disregarded it or made it invisible to them. And that is the ones who call themselves Jews. And what they did, they brought into existence religion with the quest to become the rulers of the world. And in doing so, they engaged in constructing a tower called Babel. And that this tower called Babel had one thing as its primary goal, and that primary goal was to build a stairway or a structure to reach God, meaning that it was going to bring into existence a God that was able to bring the whole world under submission. And now we are beginning to see what that really means. When we look at what took place at the Tower of Babel, speaking of the different languages that were brought into existence, it's not talking about the current languages that we speak. It is talking about chaotic communications that has taken place between the Arab, the Jew, and the European Christian. This Tower of Babel is currently being destroyed, and the destruction of it is being done by those who built it, and the true nature of it is seen by the ones who were more deceptive than the Western Europeans and the Arabs, and that is the Ashkenazi Jew, who set out to rule the world by virtue of building this invisible tower of wealth and destruction. From the time that the Eastern Europeans established themselves in Russia, then in Germany, and then in what is called Israel, what is taking place is that even during the European slave trade, the Christian slave trade, it was the Jews who were the primary financiers, the primary slave traders. But they were so deceptive until they threw the rock and hit their hands, meaning that they stayed in the background making all the money off of it, but it made it look like it was the Western European who was engaged in the most brutal type of enslavement the earth has ever seen. But this was not done simply to make money. The reason the Jews were engaged in this was to find a way to rule the world. And through their persistence in engaging with Western Europeans in the slave trade, they established a route that they were going to take in order to rule the world. While they had duped the Christians into believing that they were actually friends to the Christians, that they had nothing against them, they simply believed differently religiously. And in religion, well, the Christians were looking at this religion as being something that was close to a creator called God and a savior called Jesus. Well, the Jews have no sense of any religion whatsoever. Even though they called it Judaism, their whole goal was political the whole time. There is nothing at all that is sacred about what happens in Israel, even though on the face it is. the whole game was to gain control of all worldwide systems. And when they gained control of Christianity, which they did in the year 2000, they gained control of Christianity after having labeled it since 1933. They finally gained control in 2000. And in gaining control in the year 2000, they sought to go further and solidify their control over all European capitalism, and they did it through bribery. And the bribery through which they did it was the Epstein and other methods that they used to bring this to fruition. And the reason that they have for the last 50 years have sought to attack Iran is not so much because of Islam, it's because of control. The Muslims were still in control of a great portion of oil, which is one of the products in this earth that brings much value to it, and you cannot solidify control of the world if you cannot solidify control of the wealth of the world. So in traveling this pathway, they joined forces with the U.S. And the way they did that is by taking over the U.S. government by buying politicians. So now we are at a crossroads. We are at a place in this particular time where we are seeing a battle that is being encouraged by the Jews, a war that the Jews have always wanted. At least they thought they did. And the reason they wanted this war is because they knew if they could control Iran, they could control the Strait of Hormuz. And if they could control the Strait of Hormuz, they could choke the rest of the Arabs out of, they could choke them out of they could choke their needs by virtue of not disallowing them to be able to transport their oil without having Jewish control over the transportation route. And to this day, they are still making efforts to dig a pipeline so that they can pipe the oil from the Arab nations through the Strait of, bypass the Strait of Hormuz and going straight to Israel and offloading the oil to tankers for around the world. And that gives Israel total control of all of the oil in the Middle East. That's what the game is. And in order for them to be able to pull this off, they knew that Iran was going to shut the straits down if a war broke out. So they conspired with Trump, with America, and lo and behold, here we are. How did they get Trump to do it when all other presidents said no? It's because of being able to bribe him, and the money that he received from the other Arab nations was a bribery as well to keep him on their side. But the bribery that Israel have is that of the Epstein files, and that was more powerful. That was a more powerful persuader than the money from the Arab countries. So they joined forces to bring this about. And you may be asking, what does this have to do with anything? Well, in order for the peace and harmony to come into the earth, there had to be a dismantling of the systems that held the earth hostage. And we were looking at America primarily as holding the world hostage, but it wasn't. the primary hostage holder was Israel and still is. And if the war against Iran were to be successful with Israel and the U.S. controlling the oil or the Strait of Hormuz, that means that Israel will have a stranglehold on the world. Judaism is a bastard religion, and say what you will or may about that, it doesn't matter to me. The truth of the matter is, it's not a religion at all. It is a political system masquerading as a religion that has made up its mind that it's going to manipulate Christianity and Islam for its financial purposes. And what they forgot is they are not the owners of that part of the world. They are not the original people from that part of the world. They are not the ones who have the right to lay possession to anything in that part of the world. And when we begun to travel this journey to see who we are, or to find God rather, when we found ourselves, now we have a clash. And the clash is that we found ourselves and we know who we are. We are a Kabbalah. We are the divine essence of what what everything in this earth seeks to survive or needs in order to survive. And without lifting a finger, we see now a brutal engagement of these forces that have been a force of enslavement, a force that has stolen everything from the Babylonian and from the continent that is called Africa. And now that this war is unfolding, we are beginning to see the detrimental nature of it. And the detrimental nature of it is the death to the God of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. And that God is money. Regardless of what anyone says, that God is money. These three major religions are more concerned with the wealth that they can accumulate at the expense of everyone else on the earth. They're more concerned with making sure that the Babylonians never, ever get to a place of power and authority where they have been in the past. They don't realize that they are not fighting humans, that they have levied their powers against the divine, and in doing so, they have left themselves vulnerable to death itself. So right now, what we are currently dealing with is watching, as I said some weeks ago, the war of Armageddon. A war of Armageddon is a world war, and a world war does not necessarily mean that all nations are involved in a shooting war. The war that is taking place is not just in the physical realm; it is also in the spiritual realm, and because it is in the spiritual realm as well, what we are seeing is a coming together of those who are of a Babylonian descent for the express purpose of bringing harmony to the earth. And you say, well, how is this taking place? Well, every European nation, inclusive of America, is on the brink of bankruptcy. And with America being on the brink of bankruptcy, so is Israel, and as I said, all European nations. And the reason I know this to be true is because right now America is desperate to get that channel opened, because America is 6 months from having to file bankruptcy. America is 6 months, well, 6 to 8 months, I would say, from having to admit that their finances are depleted. And it is not only America; it is also France and Germany, and England. All of them, Italy, all of them are on the edge when it comes to their finances. So yes, they want the war to end, but they cannot walk away from it with the strait being still closed. And on the part of Islam, they are engaged in this in order to maintain their control over an economy in the Middle East. And both of them are really in a stage of decline. And as they begin to decline, we are the ones who are still standing, meaning that we have not, no one has ever been able to destroy us because you can't destroy God. So right now, what we are experiencing is a spiritual a journey that's going to end in balance and harmony, being the predominant force in the earth. The two factors, that came together to destroy us, to destroy Al-Qaeda, are the Muslims and the Europeans. So right now, all we need to do is hold on to who we are, and to maintain who we are. And this is the reason for the last 6 weeks, what we have been talking about is the divine nature of who we are. From the time that Kathy talked about Job, to Barbara talking about depression and suicide, to us talking about shadow work, talking about what melanin really is, understanding the light that we are. All of these things are a part of what's taking place right now. And as a matter of truth, the reason things are being shaken is because we know who we are. And everything that can be shaken is being shaken, and is being shaken as we speak. One of the major things that we need to keep our eye on, and that is what's going to take place in the next 72 hours. Because the next 72 hours are going to be pivotal in how this thing ends. And I'm saying to each of you, even if you go to the bank and they tell you that your money has no value, don't worry about it. Don't concern yourself with it, because that will apply to everybody. You will not be the only one whose money don't have value. And if you think that cannot happen, think what happened during the Depression. I'm saying to you also that we are very, very close to a time of testing. And that time of testing is you finding out what you are really made of. You will face a test. Are you going to stand, or are you going to falter? But keep in mind as you face it, whether you choose not to stand or whether you choose to stand, you're still going through it. So you may as well go through it based upon who you are, so that you can be a source of strength for others around you and help them to see that there is nothing on this earth or nothing any place that is destructive, that can bring about the demise of the Acabelonians. So I say all of this to you to end up saying this. The things that I have described economically and militarily are the events have been shrouded in a cloak of religion, and now that they are being shown for what they really are, it is spirituality that is on the precipice of manifesting to the eyes the reality of what peace and harmony looks like. However, chaos precedes order. And now this chaos, we are in a highly chaotic state, and we are closer to order than we have ever been. But that order must come with the declination of European principles, mindsets, and the mindset of those who enslaved us without regard to who they are. I'm done.
Hey, Pastor, this is Charles. Why America and Israel trying to corner the market of the oil?
It's not just the oil. It's not just the oil. It's controlling the world.
Oh, okay,
It's all about controlling the world. And
okay.
controlling the world is not what we think it is. Controlling the world is also a desire to figure out how to control us, because we are the source of melanin. We are the source of light, and forever and a day, they've made every effort to try to extract melanin from our skin so they can learn how to use it for their benefit. And they understand very clearly that, excuse me, that they cannot possibly destroy us because we are gods. But not only that, but also because the earth cannot survive unless we are still in the earth. There is no survival of the earth or anything in it if there is no survival of the children of Akebalon. I'm done. Thank you, Charles. Anyone?
Thank you. 'Cause I didn't see it that way.
Well, I'm glad I could help. Anyone else? Ron?
Okay, well, kind of quiet tonight. Any no questions about that? Did it resonate?
Yes,
Did
it
that resonate
did.
with you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Well,
Yes, sir.
that's what matters.
That's what matters. In the next 72 hours, a lot of what I just said to you is going to manifest. I'm done.
I'd like to ask a question, please.
Go right ahead.
So, Sage, in that they cannot exist on this earth without the Cableonians, is that one of the reasons they may be searching so desperately to go and see if they can live on the moon or other planets?
Quite frankly, then they are one of the main reasons they want to go to other planets. They want to mine the planets. They want to get the resources off of the planets.
Okay.
And they
Another
have to do that.
monetary.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Thank
don't leave out now the fact that they are still making every effort to understand the technology of melanin.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Have you not noticed that melanin does not appear in the periodic chart? And there's no mention of melanin in your chemistry classes or your biology classes for that matter.
Yes, I've noticed.
But melanin is definitely the source of all life. Nothing can live without it, so why is it never discussed? I'm done. unless there are questions or comments.
I'm not just saying something. I know Russia, they got their little war with Ukraine, but what is China why China ain't saying anything?
Like I said, it does not have to be every nation in a war for it to be a world war. All of them are get engaged in this war from behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
That's it.
Any more questions, y'all? Comments? Okay. Well, if you think of something, jot it down. If something happens in the next few days that you have questions about, jot that down as well, and we'll discuss it Saturday. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
family.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thanks.
family.
Bye bye.
Good night.